So, hello everyone, welcome to the 7th episode of the Branch Out podcast. We're your hosts, Vince and Emmanuel.
Yes. And today we have with us three very special guests. Special because it's the first time we have three local guests today. And we can go through and let each of them introduce themselves. Patrick. Hi, Patrick.
Hello. Yes, my name is Patrick Dobler, and I'm a candidate for Aufrecht Bern. Basically, I wasn't really yet involved in politics. I'm really interested in politics, but now it's the first time that I'm a candidate that people can vote for me, and in 2 weeks we will see whether we will have a chance.
Great. And you're a local, you're from Bern? I'm guessing.
No, not really.
No?
No, that would be a shameless lie. No, I grew up in the canton of Solothurn, so I didn't really yet catch quite the Bern accent. So people still say that typically you're not a Bern, you're an expat. And yeah, that's all the typical Swiss, because if you have a dialect, you will never really be 100% integrated. But
Okay.
no, I grew up in Solothurn, the canton of Solothurn, but 12 years ago I moved to Bern to study and for work.
Okay, and what's your career, or what do you do aside from being a politician?
Actually, I really don't want to be a politician.
Okay.
I really love my job, but it's necessary now that people stand up, and people who give a voice to the unheard, I'd say. So what I do, if I'm not currently a candidate, I'm a software engineer, and yes, that's what I do. I love programming, IoT devices, and yeah, unfortunately, I had to a little bit reduce my hobby because now it's competing with the actual election.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if I get elected, of course, I'd still continue to work, because I think that's the best that you can do. Still keep working and put that experience, keep that experience as a politician. Because I don't really like to be a full-time politician.
Right. Okay. Very cool. We'll circle back to that, because I think that's a very interesting point about politics in Switzerland, is that there's so many people in politics who are living a regular life, like everyone else who's not a politician. So we'll come back to that. Martin, hi.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Martin Winkler. I'm a candidate for Aufrecht as well. I'm 40 years old. I'm a student of theology.
Okay.
I'm a firefighter, a karate practitioner,
Okay.
and a whiskey aficionado.
Perfect. That's great. Okay. Firefighter. I was not expecting that. I don't know why I didn't expect that. I was expecting lumberjack, cutting down trees in the forest.
Oh,
I would
all the
imagine your beard is a fire
stereotypes.
hazard.
Don't start with
The beard,
stereotypes.
right? Nah. Cool. Firefighter. And what was the other one you said? Karate.
Karate
Instructor.
practitioner, yeah. First
So-
degree black belt.
So sensei or
No.
no? Okay. I have no idea.
Not yet. I do have to train some years to
Okay.
become sensei someday.
Someday. Okay. Cool. Well, very nice to have you here with us.
Thank you very much.
Alex, tell us.
Grüß euch zusammen. My
No.
name is
Oi.
Schauffenegger. So my initials are ASS. So my parents unfortunately prefer to play cards instead of learning English. Now I'm playing with that. And before COVID, I quit my job because I was so sick of getting up every morning and do some slavery work for anyone else who makes more work for my efforts. And I really wanted to do politsatire,
Mhm.
some political comedy.
Mhm.
And well, that didn't work about lockdowns and everything.
Oh.
And I was political. I was already somehow in the resistance. So it's hard to get into the business for work something. Then I found one. Oh, I have to change it. I don't have to make satire, so I make the satire politician now. So for me, more or less, 50% is a joke. What I'm saying, what I want to do in politics. But we have some good examples where comedians went into politics. So it's like John Knar in Iceland, Reykjavik. He turned out capital of this tiny island in very good ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also Martin Sonneborn, this as of the satire magazine Titanic in Germany, which he was in EU Parliament. And
Okay.
the other one is also the actual joke is Zelensky.
Okay.
It's my time.
Spicy.
Right.
Great. Can I ask what you were doing not more than 2 years ago now, when you said you quit your job? What were you doing back then?
I was working in logistics with a lot of cheese.
Wow. Okay.
We have a stock about 850 different kind of cheese. So
Wow.
Martin knows whiskey, I know the cheese.
You know cheese. So together,
Got a good mix there.
does whiskey and cheese go together, Martin?
Of course, of course.
Okay, good.
Does it depend on the
It's like-
cheese as well?
It's like wine, you know. It's
Uh-oh.
like
Whiskey
wine and
goes with
cheese,
everything.
Yeah.
I can hear some people who are watching screaming.
It's just a matter of taste. So
That's it.
Exactly.
Haters will hate.
literally.
Great. Well,
it's not the typical snack to go with
Mm.
whiskey, that's for sure. But
Really?
why not?
Have it
Why
every
not?
night before bed.
gotta-
Well, Patrick earlier was asking about whether we want to introduce ourselves. So maybe for anyone that's new here, and also for you guys, my name is Vince. I'm 23 years old, and I finished my apprenticeship as a multimedia specialist last year. Yeah,
Mhm.
and now I do this with Emmanuel
well,
part time.
you also work.
I also work, yeah, part time.
Me. Yes, I work in informatic as a system administrator. So we have a lot of IT sitting around here right now.
Mhm.
And what else do I do? Well, I have 3 kids, so I have a very busy home life. And yes, I am married. I'm taken. Sorry, ladies. So yeah, and I'm interested in, as the motto of our show is, everyday topics with everyday people. That's what I'm interested in. I think we hear a lot from academics and from people with PhDs and doctorates, and we hear a lot about people who are celebrities, but what I miss is hearing from the everyday Joe and Jill, as it were.
Yeah. So I'm actually interested to know how you got into contact with these 3 here.
So that was a big mistake.
Elaborate.
Okay, well, Alex was the first one that I met, and I met him at a local community meeting, you could call it. People from the community meeting together who were concerned about the current situation, well, the situation back then, as it were, regarding the COVID measures, the mandates. And he was there. I met him. And I believe it was maybe the second or third time that I was there, I met Martin, who also was there.
Yep.
And
was it the same evening?
Was it the very first evening?
I guess so. But Martin was more in the background, no?
No, Martin was, well, maybe he was there in the first meeting and I just didn't see him. But that's difficult because of his
can you not
beard. I mean,
see
how
him?
can I not see his beard, right? I mean, That's
Now Martin, as usually, comes too late. Maybe that's why he's not that much.
The most important persons are always late, Alex.
they're never
Everyone
late.
waits
They're
for
always
them.
on their time. Yeah. No, the
Sure,
time
they're defining the time, right?
they define the time. Everyone else is early.
Yeah.
We were waiting for you.
But what meeting was it where you guys met? What kind of meeting was that?
Basically, just basically local people who are concerned about the situation, just meeting together to talk about what they were experiencing with the COVID measures and so on. So it was just like a.
We are not allowed to talk about that. To make commercials.
Yeah.
Or is it too discrediting at the moment?
We have commercials at the end. You guys can promote something if you want.
Do we have to disavow all the things which are going against the YouTube narrative to save you from getting cancelled?
No, we're not really concerned about getting cancelled. It's more of going against terms of service. Those are the things that we're trying to avoid. Although I trust you guys.
I mean, you have to go pretty. One thing is you either have to be going pretty extreme in some direction or breaking the law, or you have to be a very big platform with a lot of subscribers, and we don't fit into. Well, I don't know about the extremity thing, but we definitely don't have a lot of subscribers, so YouTube doesn't care about us for now.
Yeah, we have more freedom to sort of skirt the line,
10 years from now, they will look at these videos and go, we got to get you off the platform because
that's
of
why
something you said 10 years ago. That's how it works. But no, we're not overly concerned. If we get kicked off of YouTube, we'll probably just live stream on Rumble or somewhere else. So,
you guys could be absolutely free to say whatever you want, obviously, within your own.
But
benefit.
we should probably make a disclaimer that none of us here are medical doctors, and we will not be giving any medical advice.
I don't think we've ever tried to give anyone medical advice.
I'm just putting that out there.
You cannot give medical advice. We are not medical workers. We are just semi-professional politicians.
Right.
Right.
Semi. Right.
But despite that, you met on pretty mundane means. So despite you three being now big and famous in Bern.
Or infamous.
Or infamous.
Infamous.
You guys are just regular everyday people at the end of the day.
They are, yeah. And Patrick, I met him. There was that was quite shocking coincidence. I had this little group. Well, we had this little group of friends who were going out and having dinner together at like someone's house or someone's apartment, or we just meet up in the park or something. And we're having dinner in the same building, and he so happened to be the neighbor of the person that I knew that we were having dinner with.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. So he was there, and
big coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it so happened that you guys you knew about Aufrecht, and then
exactly.
You'd already known about it. Had you already met had you already met Martin and Alex?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was after. I had met Alex quite a bit before, and Martin as well, and then Patrick. What was it, like a month and a half, 2 months ago, maybe something like that?
Yes, absolutely. But I remember that I met you, I think 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago at a bar, and we also had some political discussions even back then.
Me?
Yes, I did.
No.
Yeah, we did.
What?
Okay, I don't.
So when you saw him again, you recognized him?
You're in these. You're in these expat WhatsApp channels, and a friend of mine is also involved in these expat channels. And
seriously?
Yes, we met several times, I guess. At least one time I remember where we also had a political discussions. We met about we talked about Dr. Jordan Peterson, I guess, back then. Yes, I remember that.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Bern is small. The world is small.
Yep.
Yeah.
And remember, maybe it's a lot of apple juice was involved.
Yes.
Bern
Yeah, apple juice.
The 12-year-old apple juice. So I wanted to start off by, because we have people who are Swiss who are watching this, especially younger people, and we have people from an international audience, and I think in both cases there is definitely, from an international perspective, they have a difficult time understanding the political system in Switzerland, and even for people in Switzerland, myself included, I don't know everything there is to know about how it all works. So I wanted to first start off with asking, so the three of you are standing as candidates for Aufrecht Bern, which is a pretty new political party. Or actually, it's Aufrecht Schweiz, isn't it? And Aufrecht Bern is the cantonal branch for Bern, right? And you're candidates. But you're candidates for what exactly in the canton of Bern? Like, is it I think it's the Grosarat or something like that?
Yeah, it's for the Grosarat. It's the cantonal parliament. It's
Okay.
You might compare it with the Swiss national parliament, which is for the whole Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same system in all of the cantons, with the cantonal parliament and the cantonal executive branch, which is the Regierungsrat.
Oh, okay. Do you know how many members are in the Grosarat? Does anyone know?
160.
160.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So the national parliament is like 200 members, right? So 160 for a cantonal parliament, that's actually quite a few people.
Yeah, it's quite
quite big.
More people for such a small area in comparison to 200 people. Well, I guess you also have the Ständerat and then but still, it's a lot of people, I guess.
Interesting.
Necessary to run a canton. I was interested to know, so of the 200 members of the Nationalrat, there are representatives from each canton. How do those representatives come to be in the Nationalrat?
Well, they got elected, as well as the Grossrat is elected. The difference between the cantonal system and the national system is in the cantons we do also elect the Regierungsrat, the executive branch, which we don't at the national level. The Bundesrat is elected by the National Council. So there's a difference, but the meaning behind all of this system is the more people you have which are participating in the system, the more power is limited.
Limited, like per person?
Well, limited and
dispersed.
Shared. Distributed.
Shared.
Okay.
To more people, it's not a concentration of power. So this has to be secured. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And the 160 members of the Grosarat, are they somehow is there sort of like a way to make sure that it's a distribution and kind of like an even distribution between all the areas of Bern? Like I don't know if it would be the regions of Bern, or is there a way that's, or?
Exactly, yes. That's what we call the Wahlkreis. So we have different areas called Wahlkreise, which make sure that even every Wahlkreis or area has a different amount of people who can actually get elected. For example, I candidate for the area Bern City. And these guys, my colleagues, are candidating for the area Mittelland Nord. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have, I'm not sure, 9 different Wahlkreise, I guess, right?
9. Yeah. How many candidates can be elected in the city of Bern? How many lines you have on your list?
Yes, we have 20, I guess.
20.
20.
So
Mhm.
we in North, we have 22 seats. That's according to how many people are living in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
bigger areas have more elected Grossrat, then tiny, not so much populated areas has a
Mhm.
bit less to get the balance a bit.
Is that
Interesting.
based off of population in those different areas? How
Yes,
many seats there are? Mhm.
yes, it is, and it's also the same uh, meaning to limit the power or to share the power
Mm-hmm.
equally
Mhm.
on the people living in these areas.
Mhm.
So the city can't or shouldn't overrule all the other
Mhm.
areas.
Right. Right.
Mhm. So this means that someone that lives in Bern City can also vote for a candidate from a different Wahlkreis than Bern City. Is that not how that works?
No.
Hmm.
You don't have to really live there where you candidate. So we have one between Martin and me. He was actually living in Midland North, but he's on the list candidates Midland Süd. And Patrick can't vote us because he's living in town, and we don't vote for him. Or
Hmm.
we can't.
You would vote for me if you could, please.
That's interesting because I was looking for you on the Zettel on the papers in the envelope, and I couldn't find you. So I was wondering, like, but that makes sense if
Yeah,
you are a
because
candidate
yeah.
for a different area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I also think that's good that I don't vote for someone who actually is not going to be responsible for the area I live in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, otherwise that wouldn't make much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To
It's,
be
it's
fair,
governed by
to be fair,
people like yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it's also not the word responsible is not quite right here because we are responsible for the whole canton. The question is, what do we
Mm-hmm.
represent as
Yeah.
candidates?
Yeah.
So these guys represent the Wahlkreis Mittelland North, whereas I
Mm-hmm.
represent the city of Bern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I doubt that if that is a good idea, it's also national wide. If I really have a very good candidate in Fribourg, maybe the neighbor canton to Bern, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not allowed to vote for him.
Hmm.
So I don't
Hmm.
know. It has a plus and a minus. So if
Suppose, yeah.
he's not very popular in Fribourg, so I can support him. It's really based on where they are. Um, I don't know. There were also some discussions about all Swiss people can vote the Bundesrat, which is the
Mm-hmm.
national council, the presidency guard of Switzerland. The people are not allowed to vote them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, because if someone is very popular in a region, not everyone's going to them. So,
Mm-hmm.
not sure about that if it's the best solution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to ask all of you, or any of you, um, what would you say is the core of the Swiss governmental system? What do you think is the ethic at the core of the Swiss political system?
Um, it's a bottom-up organized system,
Mm-hmm.
which has the Subsidiaritätsprinzip as at its core.
Subsidiary. Mm-hmm.
So the community is, or the sovereign is the people.
Mm-hmm.
And on the next level, there is the community. Next level is the canton. Next level is the national convention. And only if on the community level a problem is not solvable,
Mm-hmm.
the canton is going to be involved
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
in, in helping to solve this special issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did anyone else want to add?
Yeah, I would say the decentralization, the federalistic point of view is really a USP for Switzerland. I know
Yeah.
other countries have it as well, but I think here it is lived quite well. So we have the community, then we have the canton, then we have the Bund, so the national.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's similar as it is in the US, yeah, and we also have a very, very, very federalistic point of view. So each canton basically has quite some power into what the law or what they actually do in the law. It's also there are more and more people actually think that's a downside of Switzerland because the gears are minding slowly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
takes its time. I think it's a plus for me personally because yes, progressive ideas have it harder because yeah, it takes a little longer to convince 26 cantons, but it has its advantage because yeah. And I think that's also a quite unique point of view in the Swiss political system, this highly federalistic point of view.
Yeah.
which also limits power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alex, you were laughing
I
at the question.
I take it so seriously. I'm sorry. I believe that system is the best way to hide what Switzerland really is. So that system is to maintain stability. So we don't have a leader which, whatever language he would be talking, three other language groups in Switzerland, which we're talking about four different languages, don't really understand or can identificate with the dictator or whatever it would be. So Switzerland has to maintain stability to be in between the big aggressive nations in Europe, in France, Germany, Italy, and the broken up Austria Empire. So we're in between to bring these together to keep the peace. But
That's
it's just
interesting.
it's just the illusion that we have some influence. My illusion breaks down every Sunday when I see the vote results, what Switzerland was voting, and I biting in my elbow. I should have play in the lottery. I would have more luck.
Okay. Well, on that happy note,
Patrick, it seems like you wanted to add.
I'd say if people ask me what actually holds us together as cantons, it's to make a little joke. It's we hate each other. Every canton hates each other. It's not hate; it's just a playful hate. So, and I think that actually bounded us together to be a union, to be Switzerland, because
interesting.
you cannot travel through Switzerland without getting asked, "Well, from wo bist? Wo bist du?" Du bist nicht von hier, oder?
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
like
I
a
actually
competition almost.
I get that all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Wherever you go.
Yeah, wherever I go. You're not from here. If I go to the US.
It's about the dialect.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a competition all the areas, from the taxes, from the educational point of view. It's just and I think it's actually good because, in my humble opinion, if people compete each other, this means progress from my inner beliefs. Yes.
Yes, I want to add because of the Referendumsrecht and Initiativrecht. The government is also it's necessary to compromise.
Yes.
And to be mehrheitsfähig, to be popular enough so you can get the votes for your idea. So this also limits power and extreme views or Schnellschuss.
Yeah. I was going to say that I was surprised that no one mentioned the direct democracy part of the reality in Switzerland, and that is, for example, if you talk about the grassroots, the way that, like you said, it's a bottom up. At least that's the how it should be, right? How we think it should be, a bottom up approach to government. The thing is that, for example, in Australia, they also have communities. Then they have the states, right? The cantons, and then they have the federal level. So they also have this 3-tier system. But
do they have the right of referendum and initiative
that's
right?
no, that's the thing, is that just having these three tiers of power uh, does not actually translate into kind of what Patrick was saying about the mindset, which is if you know as a citizen that you have the power to call something to a referendum or make your own initiative, that is that dynamic is the one that actually puts meat on the bone, so to speak.
Mm.
And I've seen for example, living in Australia for 7 years or so, it's just a meat grinder. The political system. It's like every 4 years or so you vote, and there's Labor and Liberal. You know, it's like in the United States where you have the Democrats and Republicans, and it's like you just choose your side basically, and then they can almost do whatever they want for the next 4 years, and then you just do it again in 4 years' time. And
It's the authoritative democracy.
Hmm.
So you're
Yeah.
just asking for the will of the people. They do the election.
Mhm.
So the will of the people is asked, and you are representing the will of the people, so you can do whatever you want.
Right.
And in Switzerland, with the referendum, every law with which the legislative is putting together, we can vote if
Yeah.
we want this law or not. So there is no law in Switzerland which isn't backed by the people. Either if there was a referendum and it is granted, or if there is no referendum, so it's granted, or the third possibility would be the referendum cancels the new law.
Yeah. I noticed in Switzerland, I watched as several times there were things that were being put through, for example, the national parliament, and one of the or two of the parties in the parliament were threatening that if it went through the parliament, they would take up the referendum on it.
Exactly.
And just that threat was enough to change the way, for example, if the federal council was pushing for something and they knew that there was a threat of referendi, that they would then slow down and maybe bring it back to the table and talk about it and negotiate and so on. So
Exactly. Yeah. This happened quite recently, quite often. For example, the EU Rahmenabkommen. They were really afraid that if we push it too hard, people might actually vote for it or against it. Doesn't matter. But they are really. It changes their mindset if they know that the people of Switzerland have actually the last vote on something, and it changes how laws are made or how it's negotiated. That might even impact that. And this is quite a powerful tool.
Yeah. So I, from my limited experience in Switzerland, I would say that the core value is definitely grassroots, but without the power of initiative and referendum, it doesn't actually translate to much. So it's an interesting thing of kind of like the chicken and egg question. Which one do you put first, right? Because if you didn't have direct democracy, would it matter that you have three tiers of government? Probably not. Right?
You can see how that's working in other countries where they have different tiers of government, and it's an absolute far cry from
It doesn't suit
what we would call democracy here. Yeah. It's you could almost call it a completely different political system. Just how the dynamic of power is completely swayed in the other direction. And for us, this works just with those two options that we have: initiatives and referendums.
Yeah. So it's quite a unique situation, Switzerland, actually.
Yeah, we have the possibility to put a correction of course within those 4 years where our parliament is being elected, whereas I think most of other countries can only change their political course every 4 years, maybe.
Yeah. And one other thing that I find really, there it is. So this, what Martin is showing to all the viewers, was the Swiss Constitution. Right? Was that what it was? It was a bit blurry, so.
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay. The Bundesverfassung.
No.
Yeah,
There it is. Yeah.
there it is. Yeah.
And the preamble of the Bundesverfassung states it's we the people, um, in the name of the Lord Almighty, which we're giving ourselves this constitution, and we do
Mhm.
also have the right to change this constitution. And it's the people
Yes.
who decide what to change and to write additions into this constitution. It's not the parliament. The parliament doesn't have the right to do so.
Mhm. Yeah, that's an amazing thing as well. When I tell people about the ability of the Swiss citizens to basically have a say in any policy, in any law, directly, not via a representational person, but directly. And then on top of that, that the constitution we have is a living constitution. It can be amended by the people again, you know.
Yep.
That it blows the mind out of, like, people are just shocked. And the next thing they wonder is how the hell is it that Switzerland is not just a huge chaos, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's the you know.
It's again the illusion. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
Well, illusion.
Illusion. It's not just we have to can vote for a yes or a no for a new law the parliament was writing up. We also can create our own.
Right.
That's the initiative. So,
Mhm.
for example, if I find Martin, I can convince him, hey, we want to have more vermicelle pies. We can go to collect some signs of Swiss
Yep.
people. And if we got 100,000 Swiss
Mhm.
people who think, yes, we want more vermicelle pies, so we get to the national vote, if that could be a vote. But that's a romantic thing. The only one I really can remember where this happened, where also in the nationwide vote, Swiss people said, yes, we want to have that law was, oh, I can't remember, just the example. It was about am I allowed to say about pedophilia, something, abuse of kids, something like
Sure.
that? And
Mhm.
the parliament quit down, wrote, um, 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 they cut down the law. So it's not really that bitey and aggressive like the people wanted to have law.
Aha, okay.
All others, I don't know. If anyone has a
Well,
example
there
for
is.
a successful initiative, successful, big silence, so maybe
That
not.
was the last initiative we voted for.
Yeah.
Is that the tobacco law, or the which that one was successful,
Yes.
right? In blocking tobacco
Advertisements.
advertisements.
Yes, this was an initiative which was successful. Yes, there were people thinking it's tobacco advertising has to be forbidden, and
Mhm.
so they made an initiative, found the signs, and also succeeded at the at the vote. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I think they are very rarely, all Swiss people find this is a good law. Mostly, I think they are declined.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know. You're muted, Patrick.
I was just going to Wikipedia to have a look, and the last one was the Tabak-Initiative, yes, to prohibit that, and the Pflege-Initiative. So
Ah, yeah.
was also
Yeah,
actually from.
that was a while ago. That
No,
was,
that was last
No, that
year.
was last
Oh,
year.
that was
yeah,
Yeah.
same date as
A
the
while
second
ago.
COVID law.
So yesterday.
yeah.
One thing that I wanted to say that I really like about direct democracy that I think is not it's not immediately obvious is that with it is the of course the right of referendum and initiative, but there's also the responsibility. And this is, I think, something that is almost always forgotten. And that is if you make a choice and you succeed in, for example, being part of the majority, so you get what you want, right? Um, you bear some of the responsibility for the outcome yourself, whether it's good or bad. So if it goes really good, you can pat yourself on the back and say, yeah, I chose the right thing. But if it goes bad, you have some of that responsibility to bear. And the thing about direct democracy to me is that it teaches over time, over generations, it teaches people responsibility. It teaches the people en masse responsibility. Now, I know we can say, well, in this case, in that case, it doesn't really apply. But the thought came to me when some of my friends from overseas, from Canada, United States, and Australia, were asking me, do you think direct democracy could work, in their country? And immediately the discussion goes to, well, I don't know about the population here. I don't know about the culture here, and the mentality of the people. How are they going to react to suddenly having this massive power, put into their hands? And usually what we end up coming to is you would have to prepare for like 2 or 3 years of complete chaos and mayhem and just all kinds of stupid stuff being voted into being before the people kind of grasp, hey, this is actually, this is not essentially just a toy that we can play with and do whatever we want with.
It was also a process in Switzerland.
Yes.
It didn't happen overnight.
Absolutely.
So that's it's a necessity if you change a system like that.
Yeah.
And I also think that over the last years, people have lost how powerful direct democracy is, in my humble opinion. Because people are democracy means that if you need to read what you're voting for. You need to make up your own mind, and that takes an awful amount of time. You need to watch Arena, so basically this TV show where they compete with each other, so pro, contra, and against. You need to review lots of articles, and that has become quite difficult nowadays, in my opinion, with the mainstream narrative and media to actually make up your own mind. And
don't open your mind too much; your brain might fall out.
I think we have lost that.
That's good.
When I lost hope a little bit, when I asked young people, why did you vote no? Yeah, because it's from a right-wing party. What does right-wing mean? Everything that is not socialist. So, and if young people are actually using our direct democracy with this mindset, I have some problem with that. So they just read what their party is telling them, and without really looking at what the consequences
the topics
are.
Yep.
And the topics. Do they actually have to bear the consequences? Yes, maybe in 10 years. And that's the problem with direct democracy. It takes
time.
awful long time until certain votes that we had take effect.
And hopefully that wisdom, that accumulated wisdom, will be passed on as the young people today are voting, and then in 5-10 years time they realize the error of their ways. Hopefully then that will be passed on to their children when they have it, and so on. So
that's the burden of responsibility you mentioned before. So,
but it takes a generation.
But we human beings, I believe we human beings, we have the right to choose to have a direct say in our destiny, in our fate. But we also have the right to make mistakes. Okay? Because without making mistakes, we can't learn.
Right.
Sure.
And most important, to admit that you made mistakes. I think that's what
would be
I'm
nice.
really, really missing from politicians. So if we go back to that question, I think what differs myself and many of our candidates, that we can admit that we did mistakes. Because for me, as someone who is working in IT, I know that I have to make mistakes to get along, to go on and grow, to learn. And I really cannot remember the last time an official elected parliament member admitted of making a mistake.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's something I will never heard. I know it from some people, like Sarah Wagenknecht may have said it several times because I noted it down. I made a mistake or I was wrong about that opinion, but I cannot remember that any I know in Switzerland who openly admits that because they are so afraid of the backsplash.
It's definitely a stereotype among politicians that you have to seem infallible and not capable of doing anything wrong, whereas you're all humans at the end of the day, and what politicians should be looking forward to achieving is trust. And you can't trust someone who won't admit when they've done something wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the miliz system in Switzerland, which means it's the people who are part-time politicians. They're doing it as a service for the people, and it should be, in theory, of course, it should be ehrenamtlich. What's the word in English? So you don't earn anything to do so. It's a service
Do it out of
for the
duty for your,
people, and therefore it also hinders Berufspolitiker to appear.
Career politicians.
the worst
Career
ones.
politicians, it's the Swiss systems. Swiss, in theory, wouldn't allow.
What's the salary for someone in the Grosarat?
Grosarat, it's 25k a year.
30,000 if you append all the commissional meetings. 30,000.
Okay, 30,000 a year.
Of work.
And how
is
much...
it 2 months of work?
Four times for 2 weeks they meet.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Okay. That's not bad.
It isn't bad, but it's not
you can
crazy
extend
either.
it because with Switzerland, several politicians actually start in Stadtparlament, so city council. Then they also extend that by going to the cantonal council. And I don't know whether that's possible, but I will have to check that, and then go to the national parliament. So actually, at the end, you can really make a lot of money without ever had to work before or without a job. Yes, this is what we call career politicians. And the system that our founders have made did not put that into aspect. So we didn't really thought that there is really anyone insanely enough to do that as a career. I think that's the biggest issue that we have.
So
career politicians is the downside that we have in all of our parliaments because the system was not built. We really, our founding fathers had in mind that we are working people and we get together to agree on certain issues for trading and other stuff, but not to make a full political career out of it, my opinion.
So would you all be for
position to change that with term limitations, for example?
We can, and there are some parties who are seeing that might be necessary now to actually cut down the expenses, or not expenses, the salary that the career politicians receive. But then is the problem of not bribery,
lobbying.
Thank you, and that's not
bribery as well.
Bribery through lobbying. Well, I wanted to segue into asking each of you to briefly give sort of like a little story about what in the world got you to become political candidates. So we've got about 10 minutes before our break. So who wants to go first? Alex, come on. What made you do this to yourself?
Absolutely pure desperation. I go back not to direct democracy, I go back to ancient Greece democracy, where every citizen put his name on a paper, put it in the pot, and then they got not elected, they got not chosen, they got picked by luck. Then they can decide, do they want to work as politician? They want to have that burden or not? And after the last 2 years, what happened? Politicians were more or less lobbyists and selling. Well, that's the German word joke of Volksvertreter. A Vertreter is going from door to door and selling some vacuum cleaners or something. And those people are selling the Swiss citizen for
Ah.
at the moment, the pharma lobby. A few years ago was for the banksters. And well, we really get. Can we beep that out? No. And I thought I have to do anything that's possible for me, what I can do to make to bring it to another direction.
Mm-hmm.
I need
Mm-hmm.
I have to use any channel possible to make that insanity try to go away. So working and protesting on the street didn't work. We lost the
Mm.
referendum about the COVID law, and there's some fabulous groups where you find amazing people like Emmanuel and Martin were working on that. And somehow through there I slipped into Aufrecht. I was interested in looking in and I was sucked in. So that's the thing I have. That's also my last opportunity to maintain the belief, the trust in politics. If not,
Mm-hmm.
take every Sunday, take my day off and don't even go to vote because it's absolutely all nonsense.
Mm.
We
Okay.
can change it now. If we don't wake up people now, it's gonna be terribly wrong. Then, well, I'm just here anymore. I don't fight anymore.
Okay, so the reason why you got specifically into politics was because you had basically tried everything else there was to try to turn things around. Is that more or less true?
How could I try everything? No, not
That you could.
that. It is a try now.
Yeah.
Before, let's say that's about 15 years ago, I was somehow in the same topics they are actual now, but
Mm-hmm.
it was not about the pharma lobby, it were the banksters, was about Occupy Wall Street and the big
Oh,
bank crisis in
okay.
2008. Um, we were there a bit activists
Mm-hmm.
and settled down for a couple of years. But what happens now, especially that no last fall, starting in September, that was crossing my red line. So now and I'm rested. I'm still full of energy. I have to do whatever's possible to maybe even find in a few hundred years my name in history books and said he was one of the good guys. Or even get
Great.
my marmor bust in Valhalla. I think that's my next.
Love it. Okay, great. So politics is the last stand. Because you didn't try politics up until now, right?
I was once just a list filler in a community vote, but
Okay.
it was absolutely inexistent uh, campaign. So I
Okay.
didn't do anything.
Cool.
But
All right.
I think I'm pretty experienced in politics. So there's many civilization I led to a glorious future and world fame and to victory. But it was all on video games. But I'm
Yeah, I was wondering, like,
Where's that coming from? Great. Which one of you two want to go next? Patrick, Martin?
about Patrick.
Go for it.
Yeah, I was thinking about what really put me into that perspective. Actually, it wasn't about COVID. For me, COVID was the COVID referendum. It was only a symptom of a system that has been a little bit sicky for the last 10, 12 years, I'd say. I
Mhm.
remember when, I think 2016, when this whole Fridays for Future stuff started, I realized, okay, when I went to have a discussions with those young people, that they're not really making up their own mind. They're just repeating stuff that have been put onto their mind. And I realized that, that's going to be a dangerous pathway for Switzerland because due to the direct democracy. And I wanted to feel that, okay, maybe there are other parties who feel that they must stand up, not against Fridays for Future, but to really show that there are other solutions than to, demonstrate and stuff like that. And I realized that, okay, there weren't that many parties from the right perspective. So that means anything else than the Greens and Social Democrat. And then I realized, okay, they're just, my party members that I followed are just following narratives as well. What is being pushed to the mainstream media is what they do. So I was a long time member of the FDP, that's the Free Democratic Party. So they actually want to be liberal in a kind of sense, in a German way, liberal, not the English way. And I was really disappointed when I see, okay, they also wanted to go to the greenwashing point of view, to forbid that, to make that, and without really being aware of the consequences of those political ideas. And then COVID came, and the same thing happened again. I was double vaccinated. I don't regret it being double vaccinated, but I think it's not me to judge anyone else to get vaccinated or not. And even no party, no established party was against it. None. And that was totally against my point of view of liberty and freedom. Absolutely not negotiable. And that's why then I realized, okay, who are you going to vote for the canton parliament? I realized none. There isn't anyone who fulfills all the aspects that I want as Patrick Dobler. So it's not only about a liberal economy, and it's also about liberal society and all the stuff. There was none existing. And so I realized, okay, for the first time in my life, I'm not going to vote. I will make my own party, or I will join my own party. And this is why I did it. And also because there were many other people in my age. They're not tinfoil hat idiots. They're people like you and me who think, hey, no one represents us anymore. And before they also don't go to vote, I wanted to give them a safe haven to, hey, okay, I'll try to be against a narrative if it has to be. And that's why I wanted to candidate for Aufrecht Bern, because I think for me, before I'm not going to vote, at least I can vote for myself or colleagues who have similar ideas.
Right. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Martin, that leaves you.
Well, for me, it was triggered by the COVID restrictions. I'm one of the Verfassungsfreunde, which is a Verein, association, which was founded to protect or reinstate the constitution, because many of these COVID restrictions were unconstitutional, which was shown by many analysts, professors, law professors. So there is this article which granted the right for education, and there came the point. I'm still a student of theology at the University of Bern, and my right for this education was limited. I should wear masks to execute my right for education, and a second step there even was the necessity to have a COVID certificate. It's a green pass. I can't stand this thing. So I was one of the group of the students against education with zertifikatsfreie Bildung. Was the main point for myself. I also made a video for the referendum the year before, which was well, I made a comparison of the COVID certificate with the Ablasshandel, since I'm a Theologiestudent.
What's the Ablasshandel? I haven't heard of this one.
It's well,
Should
it's a
I-
letter. It's a letter of the Catholic Church from the 16th century, which they sold to you for you to get well, the absolution of sins. And it's a
Aha,
letter of,
indulgence.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's a letter
Indulgence.
to so you can show how pure you are. And there is the connection to the COVID certificate, in my opinion. So it's the same. This it's a letter to show your pureness to others. It's a letter you can touch, which gives you a nice feeling if you have one. You can participate. You're one of the group, etc., etc.
Actually, a reoccurring pattern.
Yeah, yeah, nothing new in the West. And the second point was I do have a son, and he is in school, and he should wear masks as well, which is completely ridiculous, completely unscientific, which is now more and more shown.
Mm-hmm.
Kids were never a part of this crisis, and he was forced to wear this mask, which is completely against my view of our democracy, of our state, of our freedom, of our liberal rights. So yeah, and therefore I decided I do have to do something to ensure in fall, when people naturally are getting sick again. The Regierungsrat Schneck, which was the decider in Canton Bern, not just takes again this measurements with masks in schools. So well, I do want to stop the Schneck, or
Okay.
at least put my my thoughts and my voice into this democratic process, and represent the 40% of people which voted no last year in November and in June before, when they were asked about the COVID Gesetz.
Yep.
Hmm.
Okay.
They are simply not represented right now in the parliaments, as well,
Hmm.
in the canton parliament, as well as in the national parliament. So we want to change that. So
Yes.
it's for all the people who voted no last year in June or in November, no COVID, they say now yes to Aufrecht.
And that's actually quite a few people, because it was somewhere around 38% that
Yes.
voted against the COVID Gesetz.
Yes.
So that's actually quite a what do you say? A large minority
yeah.
of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all these people are now called to action. Go vote at the 27th of March. Vote Aufrecht. If you said no last year for the against the COVID sets, vote Aufrecht, so we can represent you in the new parliament, to make sure you're getting heard, and this stupid and ridiculous unscientific measures don't come back.
Great. Should we go to break on that note?
Yep. All right. Thank you, guys, and we'll take a 5-minute break. See you in a bit.
See you soon.
See ya. And we are back.
Welcome back after that short
welcome.
break. We are all refreshed. So yes, after hearing what possessed all of you to become candidates for politics, now I think we want to dive a little into the political organization that you are standing as candidates for. And let's go ahead and share the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have the website for, now this is the main website for Aufrecht Schweiz. And, well, first of all, it's a very nice looking site.
Thank you.
That's not a given. I've seen political websites that have been absolutely atrocious. So, +1 here. I guess that's hiding behind their things here.
I can hide them temporarily. That makes it easier.
Maybe just let me see if I can, if I blow this up and then I move it to the side.
Oh yeah, there you go.
If that works. Does that work? No, not really, huh? Doesn't move over enough.
Shall I hide it for?
Maybe just hide them. Hide them. So these are the... It looks like on the website, at least, it looks like these are the 3 main values for Aufrecht Schweiz. So I wanted to just introduce these to our viewers so they can get an idea of what the main values of this political party are. The first one reads, well, this is translated in Chrome to from German to English, so the translation may not be 100% precise. If you see the word I don't know, donkey in there or something, maybe it's a mistranslation, maybe. So So the first one reads, due to mass propaganda and fear scenarios, Switzerland changed in a short time from a free country worth living in to a society with totalitarian traits. The human and international rights granted by the Constitution, I'm guessing they're the Swiss Constitution, since 1848 were grossly negligently disregarded. Okay, so that's a kind of a general, it's a general point being made, but it's also not so general because it speaks directly of mass propaganda and fear scenarios, or I guess fear campaigns. Maybe that's the original.
Exactly, yeah, it's a fear campaigning that we have seen lately again in the COVID, during the COVID discussions, but we see it, this fear mongering and campaigning all over, be it now the Ukraine war or crisis, or be it the climate crisis. We always see the fear mongering behind it, and it has especially been seen in our opinion due to the COVID restrictions and COVID times. And we do see that we really want to be as close to scientific evidence as possible, but there are other points how we can represent the same data. And we don't want that it always shows the wrong side of it, the fear-mongering side.
The worst case scenario,
exactly.
Right?
I believe in our federal systems and bureaus, because I've also worked for these guys, and I know that, for example, Bundesamt for Statistics or for health, they actually put out data where you actually can make your own mind how dangerous this virus was or still is for your age group and sexual gender. But you can look it up, and if you look it up, you see different things than the media and politicians tell you. And we want to put the focus on those other facts that you can see, and to stop this fear mongering, because fear stops rational thinking. Fear mongering is is a big dangerous to any democracy, be it direct
Mm-hmm.
democracy or any. And I think it's important to point that out outside also of COVID. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this was something that I think it was on our very first episode. Our first episode was regarding sense making,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah. And this is one thing that we touched on at the very beginning of our whole branch out journey was there is a huge problem, not just in Switzerland, of course, but around the world, with the ability of people to make sense with the information that they have. It's not a problem of not enough information. We have more information than we've ever had, and we have it easier to gain access to than we've ever had it.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of not having the information, and it's not a matter of having a difficult access to the information. It's a matter of being able to make sense of the information. And one of the things that we realized when we look at the media sphere is a lot of the, let's say, untruth is not them saying things that are dishonest, but it's lies of omission.
Mhm.
In other words, stuff that they don't say, right? And with that comes a complete change of context.
Yeah.
And the information is no longer an accurate representation of reality.
Absolutely, exactly like that. The question is, if you have a torque, where do you put the light to
Right.
where,
Mhm.
right? Exactly. And I
Mhm.
think, yes, I don't think that politicians or the media is lying, but they are not really putting their lights on a different angle. And we want to be these politicians who have the torch in our hands and put some lights into the dark corners of the same statistics, of the same evidence,
Mhm.
and we show that as well.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know from any of you, were there any sources of information in Switzerland? So I guess I'm talking more or less about media. Were there any sources in the media sphere in Switzerland that you would say were more nuanced than others? Sort of the ones you could trust to kind of give the information but not tell the people what to think about it? Or were they all just as bad?
I mention here the Weltwoche,
Okay.
and also the Ostschweiz.
Oh, yeah.
It's Nebelspalter was also a satiric magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Since lately they started to make more politics, more serious, and also against the ruling narrative.
Yeah, and Kati.
And Kati
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah.
ATIP, Nebelspalter, Weltwoche, Ostschweiz, I think were the most famous classic media that we have.
Who else exists? There's just 3 or 4 big media houses were floating everything with their propaganda magazines. It's just Ringier like Blick, and then we have TX Media, which is Tagesanzeiger. The 2 Bern journals we have, very traditional, both of were the Berner Zeitung and the Bund, and they were same now. They are the same newspaper.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
it's 20 Minuten as well.
That's Tamedia. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
TX Media is Tamedia. And third one, what was it? Blick, Ringier, takes. Oh, NZZ.
Richtig.
New Zürich Zeitung.
They were, yeah, in the middle, I'd say. They actually, at least they allowed a different narrative. Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Not at the beginning.
No. But later on, they realized, okay, there are some people who think that the data is not being shown in all their favors.
Yeah, but they didn't represent their freisinnige agenda, which they're coming from.
NZZ and Freisinn, that's a different topic that we can discuss. I think that's been a long
Yeah,
time.
sure, but you know the newspaper of the liberals.
It used to be.
Yeah, sure. It used to be, but that's not their legacy, which they lived up to.
Okay, I didn't know that the NZZ was
Yeah,
originally.
we have the NZZ, who's originally more for the liberal, also FDP. Then we had Weltwoche, who actually positioned itself more to the Schweizer Volkspartei, SVP.
Mhm.
And then we have Nebelspalter with Markus Somm, who actually tries to fill the gap between NZZ and Weltwoche a little bit. And those are all considered as bürgerliche
Okay. Civic.
papers. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
beside that, I was really disappointed from SRF, our, yeah,
Oh,
can you
no,
say, no, propaganda machine? Or what's the
State
official name now?
media, I would call them.
What would you call it?
State media.
State media.
Yeah,
That's
I think they don't like it because they actually say that well, we're not related to state, but man, every time I tried, they also had the possibility on their news page to actually comment with comments. So they had a comment section where you were allowed to comment. And I always pointed out the data from covid19.admin.ch, admin.ch, yeah? And they censored it. It's several times I tried to show them, hey, this virus exists and it has its risk, but it is not as dangerous for me as a 30-year-old as for someone who is 17. No.
Wow.
These comments were not, and I pay for that, and that really disappointed me. I went to on the streets 5 years ago to actually collect the signatures to stop preventing to stop the SRG, the BILAG initiative,
Okay.
so that we actually stopped founding it. I voted
Funding. Yeah.
signatures and yeah, to actually stop that. And now I think that hey, they completely changed even more to a, I'd say, to a dogmatic narrative point of view, which is currently more left-leaning or more totalitarian-leaning than it used to be. And yeah,
I mean,
so
SRF is state, isn't it? Isn't it funded by taxes, and therefore it's.
it's a little bit special. They don't like the term that they're a state media because they would put them on the same page as Russia Today, right? But they prefer the name
Well.
state finance or
Funded, state funded.
funded media, so that they actually still are not that tightly
So they
connected.
are state media.
Yeah.
The one who pays is the one who says.
Yeah.
So what do you think about in the last vote that the median pocket was denied?
Thank God.
definitely good.
Thank God, I was so relieved. I think I was nervous for the COVID stuff, but for this one, I was even more nervous. Really. Because if that went through, it would have even been easier and to push these false narratives. And I think it's important to have independent medias, but I think, and I still believe up formally, that the best way of doing that is providing good content that I'm willing to pay.
Yeah, I mean, independent media. When I saw that that story that I think it was Weltwoche who broke it. It was either Weltwoche or Nebelspalter, but I think it was Weltwoche, regarding the CEO of Ringier, who was on this Google Meets call, and he actually said in it, "I hope this stays within the call," and then says that the editors, he told all the editors to follow the government's narrative on COVID. I mean,
Seriously, was anyone surprised? No.
What do you
guess not
imagine
in this
happens in the
I
back by
think
actually
we were
seeing it?
surprised. The big media houses were surprised because they had no clue, while in the last few years, people are stopped buying and reading their newspapers because they are not that dumb as they hope for. The people don't believe the lies anymore, so they don't sell the papers. So the selling papers is going down, and alternative medias and the mass of people going to alternative medias in the end. And that they didn't understand so far, that they have to change their topics of perspective view how to write, what the people believe and what they want to read.
Mm-hmm.
And with their strong connection, they go into the Bundesrat. Oh, please give me some money. We are losing people. So I'm very surprised that the Swiss people voted in that specific case
Mm.
right.
I guess they had enough of it.
Yeah, it definitely shows a shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we jump to the next of the values here, a shout out to, in my opinion, someone who's done a lot towards we could say the Widerstand, the resistance towards the COVID measures, who did not, as far as I know, have any funding from the state or from any big groups, and that would be a guy by the name of Daniel Stricker from Thurgau, as I understand. I mean, I followed this guy for well over a year with quite a bit of amusement. I mean, he's definitely got a flair, you could say. He's got his style, and I can see how some people don't quite like it. It was a bit shocking to me at the beginning as well, all his Fs at the beginning. But I think he definitely filled a niche where, you know, for I don't know how many, probably something around 100,000 or more people in Switzerland who needed someone to just be out there every single day looking at the mainstream media and picking them apart. And I absolutely loved his back and forth discussion that he had once with it was organized by Corona Transition. I forget the name of the other guy. He was a journalist. It was just him, this journalist, and the moderator. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was just absolutely brilliant. You didn't see that? Okay, you gotta try and look it up and find it, because it was almost probably a year ago or so that he had this discussion, and it was just him, this other journalist, and the moderator from Corona Transition, and he just kept his cool the whole time, and this journalist guy was like arrogant and snarky, and he was just as cool as a cucumber the whole time. It was just amazing to watch. So anyway,
I haven't seen this episode, but Stricker, you're right. We forgot about that. I thought we were talking about print medias.
yeah,
He's really something absolutely unique and new in Switzerland. That's he compares himself to Rogue. What's his name in
Joe Rogan?
US?
Rogan.
Something
Joe Rogan.
something like that, and absolutely never been here so far. And that I think history is always repeating itself in between 100 years, and the one power, the big joker, the very strong playing card we have is the internet. We can connect. Everyone has his voice, and Stricker needs his voice. He got his opinion. Not everyone has to agree in any part of, but this is a new place for everyone who wants to say something, who don't find any channel or an ear in news media, in the corporate
Yeah.
big medias. So any whistleblower, whoever wants to say something, go to Stricker. Just like what happens last week with the two guys of Alec Gagnon and Marcos Henny.
Yep.
Something, no chance to get important informations or accusations, whatever. I have to be neutral about it so far. But this is something we need more, and Stricker, all support to him, yes.
And again, it shows that you don't need a state to actually finance it,
Yeah.
because there is still demand, and yeah.
Yeah, it's,
That's not on purpose. You have to pay for, but you say as a citizen, I think that's good. I pay my bill or my tax, especially for that thing.
yeah.
So it's
It would be cool if SRF was optional, like the, what is it called now? It's not the Bilag anymore. It's something else, right?
Serafe.
Serafe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Very
it
monkey.
maybe it
Very
would be cool
monkey
if
in
you
English.
if you could opt into certain
Yeah. Yeah.
channels that they have.
Yeah.
But currently, how they proceed, I think I actually in favor of the Halbierungsinitiative to cut the prices in half and to reduce it, to reduce it, and to reduce it, because
Gradually.
as long as people are not being seriously hurt, and if the only chance and alternative is medias like Stricker TV, I think we must cut it down, so that people are also heard in our state media. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the next one. We criticize the fact that the cantons have successfully handed over their federalist rights to the federal government over the years. We criticize the fact that the federal government has withdrawn more and more rights from the cantons over the years. So that's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's a topic that going back to 1999, where the Swiss people voted for a complete uh, renovation about our constitution. And I have a very good book about Judith Barben. I have a little bit commercial. Spin Doctors in Bundeshaus, which she's saying, well, the story about the book is she wanted to print that at government close book printing. But they say, oh, the book is excellent. Everything is funded. All facts are proven. But it's too critical against the government. We can't print that. And in the book, she says the old constitution was saying that the communities like we live in having a decision giving up that to the canton. And the canton has to see, can I handle that law or can I do that? If not, give it up to the nationwide, to the Bund, to the confederation. And in the new constitution since 1999, it turned upside down. So the Swiss Confederation tells the cantons what to do, and the cantons tells the communities what to do. And that's the thing, I forgot the word in English, subsidiarity, turned upside down. And that's the thing we just realize now what we voted then, what that law was saying.
So there we are with the responsibility of the vote, which we talked about earlier. And this is one of our main points as Aufrecht. We want back to the Subsidiaritätsprinzip. We don't want a nanny state, centralism, etatism. Is this in English as well, etatism?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Well, it's the idea of the state above all.
Okay.
For the greater good.
Yeah.
Of course.
The Swiss way is a way of individualism, of liberalism, of federalism, of federalist states. And the sovereign in Switzerland is, as already mentioned, the people. The boss in Switzerland is the people, and he has to wake up.
So what would need to be changed for that to be reverted? Is that in the Constitution, or is that outside of the Constitution that change occurred?
Well, maybe we do need some changes in the Constitution, but first of all, to be responsible, so you can be responsible, you have to be educated. So there has to get some changes in our educational system, and there we as Grosarat, we can actually do something, because the educational system is canton organized. So there, as Grossräte, we can actually achieve something for the greater good.
What kind of education are you referring to?
Well, it's inputs. Well, the topics which have to be worked on in school. For example, reading the old philosophers about state, what is a state, not just looking at what is a monarchy, what is a dictatorship, and what is a democracy, but also reading. I suggest to read some of the old thinkers, philosophers, state philosophers, like Popper, for example, or going far, way back.
Plato.
Sorry?
Plato.
Yes, of course.
Aristoteles.
The essentials, yeah.
The Republic.
To be educated, to be able to make some informed decisions, and to think about, to fight about these topics.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, if I may, Martin, also to teach the youngsters to be humble about our history. I'm not talking about indoctrinating our children, how great Wilhelm Tell is and how he really fought against the Gessler and the others. No, I'm talking about being humble, that we have always been an isolated, neutral country who get together, who hated each other, the cantons, but who decided to get along and to put aside our differences and work together for the greater good and to reach more. And I think that is missing. When I go on the streets in the city of Bern, and when we went out to our electional campaigning, there were so many people, young people, who actually were coming to us. Why don't we put more into socialists? Socialists is the new future. We must fight capitalism. And I was like, yes, I understand. We need socialist ideas as we need capitalist ideas and make a fusion out of it. But where do you get the gain that a socialist is the future? Yeah, because it hasn't really been tried, and we must do it. And I was like, Jesus, did you ever read Orwell? Did you read The Animal Farm? Did you see other critical ideas of what happened into Maoist countries? What has been done? What's going on with our education? I condemn both sides, National Socialists as communists, but we must teach them equally. They're as bad as they can get. But I think, today schools are opinionated. When I was there this Friday, a teacher came to me and hugged me for being there for Aufrecht, for giving her a voice. And I was like, what is this hug for? Yeah, because it's so difficult nowadays as a teacher to be against a common narrative. If 6-year-olds approach her wearing Ukrainian flags, as difficult as this topic is, 6-year-olds, it's difficult. It's a difficult topic. And how can we expect a teacher to have a correct answer, a decent answer to those difficult ideas, and explain 6-year-olds that Mr. Putin is a bad guy, but there are other bad guys? It's difficult. And I was just shocked to hear that 6-year-olds appear in schools wearing a flag of a country that most likely they don't even know where it
existed.
And they also do know nothing about the conflict as well. They can just repeat what they heard from somewhere else. So, in my opinion, a teacher in a situation like you described it shouldn't really have to react at all.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even come to that situation, because there should be barriers before that, be it the parents or others who actually who actually do the enlightenment and stop this virtual signaling at schools.
I would like to interfere about education. Just looking back in the closer history where communism and National Socialism was the bad, but as we see the past 70, 80 years, capitalism is maybe even worse. We have this Rüstungsindustrie to building and selling weapons, and wars all the time, all over the world, just changing locations. There's the big money. That's capitalism. To get in there, killing the unarmed people, getting all their resources. And
I
now,
disagree with you. I disagree. This
It's
is not
it,
capitalism.
now they found out, maybe we are too much people, and what tries to sell us this pharmafia stuff. It's
mhm.
a capitalism, it's a pharma.
Let's
As you
Putting
see, as you can see,
body
with us Aufrecht, we don't, we are not like all the other parties. We don't
yes.
have the Parteibuchli.
Mm-hmm.
We disagree on very hard topics, and we do have to fight for the arguments. We're not just like FDP or SVP, which are going in lockstep and in a certain direction. We're all over the place. We're a Querschnitt from the Bevölkerung.
Yes. And I'm this close to getting there. But if I can, this second value, you can put that up again.
Yeah.
So if I can, in a nutshell, that basically this is talking about the once ground up style of governance having been turned on its head from to where it's now it's a top down system where the Bund is telling the canton what to do and the canton is telling the Gemeinde what to do. And this Aufrecht Schweiz wants to revert. You want to put this back to how it was before. And one of the ways that you see this being done, or one of the main ways that this can be accomplished, is by educating. And yep, Martin.
Yes,
Yes.
you have to realize, you have to educate
Mm-hmm.
the young people about their responsibility and
Mm-hmm.
their possibilities, what they
Yes.
actually can do in this great system of the direct democracy.
Yes. It's not only a privilege; it's a duty.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
So the third point is the separation of powers is violated in two ways with the COVID Enabling Act and the significant financial contributions to the media. One, power shifted from the legislature to executive, and two, media independence destroyed. We touched on this a little bit already regarding the media.
Mm-hmm.
So how about we touch on the power shifting from the legislative to the executive? Can someone comment on what is referred to there?
Yes, I try to, if I may,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
the others can elaborate more. I think the easiest way is how many. So basically, I apply as for the legislature for being a Grossrat to pay attention to actually see what the executive branch of our canton is doing. In this case, Mr. Schneck, who actually voted in favor for the mask obligatory for children
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
primary schools and stuff like that. And how many of my fellow former Grossräte did put their vote against him? Not
Mm.
many. And that's one problem. My job as a Grossrat is to actually watch the executive branch. That's what I see as part of my duty, to control him. We don't have a Verfassungsgericht, but I think it's my duty as a Grossrat to limit the power of the executive, not limit it, but to control it, let's say.
So Mr.
And
Schneck is on the is not in the Grosarat. Is that correct?
He's the Regierungsrat. He's the executive
Regierungsrat.
branch,
Okay.
and it's a unique topic from these coming elections. As we mentioned, and at the national level, the people cannot elect the executive branch, but on the canton level, the people also elect the executive branch. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's in the responsibility of the people to vote other peoples in this Regierungsrat as well as in the Grossrat.
Okay.
Get some change. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the big thing about Regierungsrat. If they don't do a good job, if they make decisions we're not comfortable for us people, we don't vote them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
Mm-hmm.
Bundesrat is more secure with his fat ass in his chair and move away there. Other the parliament does it like 2 or 3 times in history. Last time was Blocher in 2004 something. But that's also the thing. The legislation give back the power to the executive because they are all chicken shit. They are afraid. They want to get re-elected in the next votes. So they don't want to touch very uncomfy topics. That's why they just give back the responsibility. Oh, you just do that. And Berse, he's another beep, but he's also a poor guy. He has to be the bad guy of it, but he is actually. So
But
it's just
doesn't the this was a question of mine. Maybe Alex, you can explain this to me. If the canton pushes the responsibility to the federal council, is it a possibility that the federal council can say, no, that's for you guys to decide. We're not deciding it for you?
mostly yes.
And
Especially in wearing mask at schools or something. That
yeah.
was never Bundesrat who decided. That was the cantons. Which that's why we have so many different. Well, once I was going to a gas stop for tank up my motorcycle, and I was very harsh telling that I have to wear a mask. And I didn't know that. I'm from Bern, but I didn't know I was in Canton of Solothurn. So you don't have a border, but you have different rules.
Yeah.
And that's the executive in every canton who decide what to do. So the Bundesrat, he's a bit less a badass.
Okay.
Back to
Yeah,
the
and
snail.
with these masks, it is one of my key points. It was Mr. Schneck from the SVP, Schweizerische Volkspartei, which decided that school children down to first grade had to wear masks, which was completely ridiculous. It is unscientific. It's just well ridiculous, and it's now the responsibility of the people to not vote Mr. Schneck. So if you think it's yeah, it's time for a change. So Aufrecht also has 2 candidates for the Regierungsrat. So vote them if you think what Mr. Schneck did was wrong.
Not only against Mr. Schneck, but in
Sure.
general, we put out 2 candidates for the executive branch. And I think it's also worth, thank you very much. Yeah, one is a colleague of mine who's actually also a Grossratskandidat for the city of Bern. It's Joshua. And yeah, I think it's one of the youngest Regierungsratscandidates ever, because usually the procedure to established party, yeah, it takes some time to put yourself up as a candidate for the executive branch. But here we have it, one of the youngest executive candidates ever, and we have Mark Steiner as well. Yeah.
And it's not just the 2 candidates of Aufrecht. There's also a lot of independent, were not on any party list, were really independent thinkers. And I have to mention Bruno Moser. He was lately also on Stricker. He has a very revolutionary idea of taxing. And just vote them. Don't vote parties. Vote for the heads. Bruno Moser. .ch maybe. He's running for every possible mandate he ever can candidate for. Now it's the 9th time, I think. He was going for Ständerat, he's going for mayor in Biel, and now he should actually also be an Aufrecht.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, our motto is frische Wind für Bern. Eh? It's a fresh
New people.
new
fresh,
people.
fresh breeze for Bern. Yeah, great.
Fresh breeze, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well that about wraps up the 3 core values. I personally I don't have any problem with those 3 values. So
Yeah. But I think these three values are really, really high leveled values.
yes,
It depends
yes,
how we actually interpret each and
yeah,
every of our candidates. And yeah, you can
the
see that
implementation.
especially in the smart vote results, how different
Mhm.
the values can be. Oh, there we are.
Before we go to comparing, because I made a little graphic comparing the parties from SmartVote. But before I go there, I just
You need to explain.
a couple, what was it, 3 episodes ago we were talking about the last voting that we did in February,
Yeah.
and there was that graphic showing the Canton of Bern voting on the vehicle tax,
Mm-hmm.
and how stark it was, how visually stark it was that you had basically the city of Bern, I think it was city of Biel and Thun, that were basically voting yes for the tax. So they were like blue, colored blue.
Yeah.
And then the rest of Canton of Bern was just a sea of red
Yeah.
and shades of red for no.
Yeah.
And I asked, I showed Vincent the graphic without showing him the percentage
Mm-hmm.
of how it passed or didn't pass. And but I told him it did not pass.
Yeah.
And I asked him, by what percent do you think, looking at this graphic, by what percent do you think it did not pass?
Mm-hmm.
And you had said something like 80% or so.
Yeah.
And then I showed him the percentage, and it was something like 56 to whatever, 56% said no. So even though it was a sea of
Was
red,
it? I thought it was literally like 49 and 51.
maybe it was even closer.
It was pretty much
It was
right on
crazy
down
close.
the middle. Yeah.
So even though there was the sea of red, when it came down to the percentage, it was actually very closely a yes, basically.
Yeah.
And this, mhm.
If I may, that's why we from Aufrecht want the Gemeindemehr.
Mhm.
It's like the national votes where you have the Ständemehr, also the
Aha, okay.
majority of the cantons, which
Mhm.
also do have to agree or to disagree. We want to have the same principle applied on a cantonal level, so that not the cities where most of the people live can
Mhm.
just overrule all the other people not living in the city.
The
So you
cities,
do
yeah.
have to win the communities as
Wow.
well, not just
Yeah.
the vote of the people, but also the vote of the communities.
Get more
That might be one
decentralization.
idea that we follow. Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's a very cool idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Because it's a very popular example of the city theater in Bern. It was a cantonal vote about it. We have to get tax money to make a renovation for it, and
Mhm.
because in Bern live more people than outside, so communities also have to pay for the theater in Bern, and they didn't want to.
Mhm.
So that's the one
Yeah.
idea of, if Bern wants anything, that's why we need to protect the canton Bern of the city of Bern. Well, that's my personal issue.
Someone living in the city, I might disagree with some parts, but it's okay. Challenge it.
Absolutely.
Well, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we presented too, is we turned that around.
Yeah. If it had passed, and it wouldn't have taken
Well, like
much.
with the bicycle lanes. Remember we were talking about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
If
I mean, which
do you wanna-
country can actually vote for or against bicycle lanes? I love this country.
Yeah. No, we were talking about if there was a vote to fund bicycle lane infrastructure in Switzerland. Obviously, the people in the city would be more in favor for that than people living out of the land. And if that had passed, then everyone living out on land, they would be like, this is completely useless to me.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. But maybe this is also going into the third point that we from Aufrecht want. I think it's actually not part of the canton to establish even something like that. It's part of my community. If
Mhm.
that might be a really good idea for the city of Bern, but maybe for Königs or for other cities that are a little bit far away from Bern,
Mhm.
it doesn't really that there isn't really a problem of not having enough space on the streets. So I think this is also important, that what you just
Yeah.
mentioned, Vince, that certain aspects shouldn't be even they should be discussed, but I think they are not in the reach of the canton, but should
Mhm.
be better at the community level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
In a
that's why
bottom-up
Albrecht
system,
really
right?
wants to put down
Yeah.
from the federal to the cantons, and even, I think, most important, several ideas from the cantons down to the communities.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this little graphic has it's obvious why I'm showing this. This is the Stadt Bern compared to Bern Oberland. Just interesting. I thought it was interesting to see in the city of Bern. I mean, there's obviously polarity to the left. That's quite obvious. And
Yes.
actually the polarity is definitely to the left, but it's also left liberal. It's sort of in that corner. Whereas the Berner Oberland does have still a bit of polarity within the left there. There's still quite a bit of polarity there, but it is much more distributed, evenly distributed than the city of Bern. And
I agree.
that was just something that struck out to me again, like we were discussing the other day. But let's jump into this more interesting observation. So I think was it you, Martin, who made that square, or who was it who made that square inside of the? I copied someone doing that. I don't
That
know
was
who I
me.
copied. That was you, Martin. Okay. So I hope you didn't trademark your copyright your idea there.
I should have.
You should have. No. I don't have here in the graphic. I don't have the labels, so I'll just go through them. The labels of which party is represented by what square. So I'll go through them quickly. The yellow one is the.
Let us make a game.
Do you guys? I was just gonna say. Do you guys want to guess?
Of course.
Okay. What's the yellow?
I would say die Mitte.
Yeah, die Mitte, yeah.
Die Mitte.
Mit,
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Who's the next one? The turquoise.
It's not much, but green liberal, GLP, but not liberal enough.
EVP.
EVP.
Yes, EVP.
So many dots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many candidates. Wow.
That's the Evangelical People's Party of Switzerland.
Actually, you might need to explain it, what we're showing out to our viewers. So you're showing all the candidates of Canton of Bern who filled out their smart vote, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So each dot is representing a candidate, and the dot is positioned on this matrix, depending on the answers. So they go through a little survey, and they answer the questions in the survey, and out of that is the placement on the matrix, on this.
What
board.
are the axes again?
So to the left is the left, to the right is the right, above is liberal, and below is conservative. I can actually.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, it's harder. You can't compare with the other ones.
EVP, easy.
Yeah, now you see.
That's easy. We can.
Now that you see it closer, yeah.
Okay, what's the next one?
FDP.
That's one for Patrick.
That's
Have to be.
FDP.
FDP. Yeah.
Liberal and very diverse.
It's interesting. They also
look at
have
that.
ones that are not
French
liberal
they
in
call
there.
liberal, radical liberal. So they are radical liberal.
Some of them are.
So what do you call, what are you calling diverse here? It's all up in the liberal corner. So that's
Let's
not
go
diversity
on
at
with the
all.
next one to see,
Well-
because diversity is always compared to something
It's
else.
relative, right? It's relative.
The extremist party is coming.
Okay. So
Okay. Oh, you can't even see these guys. They're just.
yeah, it's
Well,
very
I
clear.
do know.
It's very clear for me. How many are
Those
in
those
between?
guys there.
Yeah,
what are
that's
they?
great. if there is more than, I would say the Green Party.
That's the Greens, yeah.
That's the Green Party. Yep.
Very radical. If they're hanging all in the same corner, must be green.
I was honestly, when I saw this, I was honestly shocked. I thought they were sort of left leaning, but to see so few of them in our lovely little red box, yeah, I was surprised.
You actually need to emphasize it more. The lovely red box is just the moderate, politicians, right? So it's not really left, it's not really right. So that's what the square would represent. Huh?
Perhaps, yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have the other green one down there. What do you think?
The big one.
Very clear, SVP. Look how not really dense it is, but it's quite right leaning. But
that's also what I was a bit surprised about. I every time you hear about the SVP, you hear, oh, they're far right, da 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 da. Yep. And actually, when I look at this, and of course the next one, we all know what the next one is, I think.
My beloved social party.
The SP. I mean,
I'm really surprised that there are actually some of those dots. I think they will not be allowed to candidate anymore.
It's funny because don't they call themselves Die Mitte?
No, that's the SP. Socialist Party and the Juso.
Wow.
Juso.
I really think that when you fill out the smart vote, how do you differ yourself from your next possible candidate? It's just copy and paste. Those,
well, that's what they did.
Socialists have the prettiest woman. They make the votes with that. Many years ago, I just voted.
That's not fair.
There was mostly socialists.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, if I was to look at this comparison, and I was to, not know which party was which, and I was just asked the question, each one of these boxes or each one of these matrices represents a political party. Can you point out, or can you sort them by which one is most extreme? I mean, it's no question that the SP and the Greens would be at the top of that list.
Absolutely. We also did a little test at our Wahlkampfstand in the city of Bern. We printed out the Greens and the Social Democratic Party and asked interested people to point out which one is which. There is no difference anymore. It's the same. It's a watermelon.
That's the thing. If you mix up together colors, with a Wasserfarbe, green, that gives a very fascist color.
I know it. I know enough about paint to know that.
And what you see here is
and this. What party is this? The Pirate Party? No,
that's us.
That's
Aufrecht.
That's Aufrecht. Yeah.
That's Aufrecht. That's striking, I think.
Yeah.
That looks like a
Seems
good
balanced.
Zielschieber of a marksman. He always hits in the middle.
And what really cringes my mind? I'm also responsible for the social media point of view of Aufrecht Bern, and most of the comments are like, we are ultra right-wing party, and I mean,
if you're used to like the Greens and the SP, everything else looks like it's far right.
This is actually the answer that we gave them. So yes, we are right wing compared to the Greens.
Yeah.
Because everything is right from them.
But that's this thing about the so-called Overton window, right? And you can remain in the same place yourself as an individual. But if the Overton window itself shifts, then all of a sudden you're somewhere else. And you haven't really changed your views individually, but society has, politics has, the narrative has changed, and all of a sudden you're somewhere else. You're an extremist. So,
but what these graphics are really showing are the Partei booklets.
What's that?
The Partei booklets.
Yep.
The
party book. Okay.
The ideology of the parties.
Mm-hmm.
And what is also shown, the matrix of Aufrecht, is we don't have a party ideology. We are what's a Querschnitt in English? We're coming
average.
from all
an average.
yeah, we're coming from all the different viewpoints in society.
And also very not suspicious. Well, let's blame the algorithm of smart vote. You can do it as a candidate, and you can do it as a voter. And I made both of them. And
Mm-hmm.
as a candidate, I want to see who I have to vote. And how you see how far away are we from each other? But my best results are mostly Aufrecht, and not
Okay.
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the
The
red ones,
problem,
greens or the blues.
I
Most
analyzed that as well, Alex, and I realized the problem is that we don't have, we actually fit also a, let's say, a gap that has not been yet filled. Maybe we can have a look at that. Yes. Can you please click on the Grossratswahlen? And once you clicked on that, please click on the database, Datenbank. Then please select the Wahlkreis on the left side, Kreis Mittelland Nord, for example, because my colleagues are in, yeah.
really
And then
majority.
party, please click Aufrecht Bern, which is the first. And yeah, good. And you can, I'm sorry, yeah, and those are the individual results. Then we can also combine all those results together to one single smart vote, which is on the other tab. It's unfortunately called Listen. Now you're on the Candidate tab. If you click on the Listen tab, which is the second one, and do the same procedure as well, so select Mittelland Nord and then Aufrecht Bern, then it combines all our values from Mittelland Nord together. And then we will see exemplary smart vote profile of Mittelland Nord, of the candidates. It takes some time to calculate all this stuff.
Oh, there we go.
There we are. Good. And so this is the smart vote profile of all the candidates. Be aware that every smart vote profile that you see, you cannot compare it with a different questionnaire set. So this one is specifically now for this questionnaire set that has been put in place for the Grossratswahlen Bern 2022. What we can see is a very liberal economic point of scale. Exactly.
That's not my fault.
Yes, you're a different one. We can also see restriktive Finanzausgaben, which means that, yes, we need to finance stuff, but we also need to be aware where the money is coming from and especially where it goes to. Okay. Then we see a very low law and order. And it also depends really on the questionnaire. So in this questionnaire, there were questions like, do you want that, do we need more police? And if you say no, of course, you will not really get a spike there. Then another question was, do you think it is good if the police resolves demonstrations who have not yet had Bewilligungsverfahren? So do you think that's good? And if you say no, you really have no chance in that. So this doesn't mean really that our party doesn't want law and order, but the questions that have been put in place are not really within that. Then restrictive migration policy. And in this case, we see, okay, we do accept that, of course, we have migrants. Those are important for our economic point of view. But with the current financial situation, we might need to be aware of that as well.
Well, at 25% foreigners in Switzerland, I mean, just counting safely, 25%, the resident population being foreigners, I think that's quite high, personally. I mean,
I think you're also one.
A quarter of the population. That's quite high.
Yeah. but also it is a difficult subject. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
difficult subject. We need people like, I mean, you're also counted in with that. Okay, you're not counted into migration politics, I guess, because you're not seeking for asylum. But for example, one of the questions was, do you think it's a good idea that the canton of Bern puts more money into what was it? To put more money into Entwicklungshilfe, so and development
Development. Yeah.
development
Abroad.
in
Yeah.
abroad. So yeah, maybe not the canton of Bern. Maybe that's a question more to be discussed on a national level, but not definitely the canton Bern. A canton that doesn't have the money and a canton that is highly in debt, right? And that's
Right.
always makes it always so difficult for right-leaning persons to answer this question, because we are not against foreigners. The question is how much money do we can actually have, and you have none and you want to put more. It's a difficult where you take it from.
Yeah.
And this is what we also see in the next axe. It's called, do we want more ausgebauter Umweltschutz? So do we want to protect more the environment? Yes. But most of the questions were about climate. Do we want that every person needs to have a solar panel on the roof? That was the question. Do we want with prohibition, with more regulation and stuff like that? And yeah, it depends really what you want. If you think it's part of the canton to regulate what you want on your roof and how do you store your energy, yeah, then yes, you might go with the Green Party. But if you think that we need more enlightenment and we need more educational purpose on how can we achieve or save more energy, then maybe this is not part of the canton, or maybe we need to put less restrictions on that. So it's very difficult to actually achieve ein ausgebauter Umweltschutz without restrictions. Absolutely not possible in the last questionnaire of the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these charts here have to be taken with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Exactly.
Because the questions are sometimes not necessarily representative of just the Überbegriff that they use here.
I mean, I'm a vegetarian, and I think I have the least ausgebauter Umweltschutz in our survey in the city of Bern. And I don't even I haven't been to a plane either. So that's ridiculous. It really depends on where do you put if you think it's good that a group for the greater good, we establish restrictions, then yes, we are the wrong party. But if you think that we must educate ourselves and believe that people can change, yes, maybe then you need less of restrictions. And you can see the same stuff in the next axe, which is the ausgebauter Sozialstaat. So how much money we put into people who have not that much of money. So the Umverteilung. So
social welfare.
Social welfare, exactly. Of course we need it. Of course we do. But
That's
it
because
depends
you're
on...
living in a red-green city where everyone's living in salary of canton or confederation jobs, and money comes from the other cantons. The rich ones like Zug or Zürich were paying every year, many billions, already billions, to Canton of Bern with the Eidgenössisch Finanzausgleich, where the rich cantons have to pay the deficit of the that's rich. No, we are Swiss. We are all rich cantons.
Okay, I did not know that. That richer, are you saying like richer cantons have to subsidize poorer cantons?
Yep.
Ah.
Same like the EU for Germany has to pay for Greece. Well, we were the pilot project for it. He tries to copy us. We should sue them also for copyrights.
Patent infringement.
All right. Well, I mean that was incredibly fascinating.
Yep. Very interesting.
I wonder if in a nutshell, if each of you could maybe think of a closing statement and maybe answer, if you want to, you could answer the question, why should anyone vote for Aufrecht Bern? What is the thing that Aufrecht Bern or Aufrecht Schweiz offers to the citizen of Switzerland that is unique from the other parties? And yeah.
Yeah.
For Aufrecht in general or personal? We are trying to get voted in personal.
It's up to you.
Okay.
I'll leave that to you. If you want, we can give you a few minutes. Vincent and I can do our closing statements if you want before, or if you're ready, you can go.
Well, first thing, I have an industry that's got forgotten, was very popular 100, maybe 200 years ago. It stopped last century. We're gonna legalize and industrial hemp again. So hemp
Okay.
is a very good resource for making paper, for making clothes, and we have a lot of joy with burning down. And there's also a very expensive green group in Switzerland. This is the army. They will protect the fields where hemp is growing. And we have this saying in Switzerland, if you have to join the army, it's also like the politician, we have the milice army. So every citizen, every
Mm-hmm.
male citizen have to join the army for a certain of time. And if someone has to go to this repetition course, we
Mm-hmm.
call it the green holidays. And if they go to protect the hemp field, so the meaning of green holidays has a complete new sense.
Jeez, I want to go to the army now. Oh, that's great. So I should vote for you as a candidate because I want hemp and holidays with hemp. Hemp
And
holidays. Woo!
a very peaceful army in that
And a
case.
very peaceful army.
A neutral army.
Very chill. Great.
Two others are thinking.
They are.
And then, of course, my personal slogan, I want more vermicell pies. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Who's next?
Talk at once.
Go for it, Martin, if you're ready. Or Patrick, whoever. 1, 2, 3, go. No.
I can go. I think the people should vote for me or in general for Aufrecht Schweiz who know how it is if you're being falsely accused of something. If you know how it feels to stand up against a cause that you formally believe is wrong, against a narrative and against the mainstream. I'm not talking about tinfoil conspiracy theorists. I'm talking about things that you have never done and you've been convicted of. I mean, then I think we are a really good choice because we know how it feels to stand upright against this huge defamation that is being going on. We have that, and I think not many politicians know how that feels, being to swim against a flow. But not only that, but to really have people who think for themselves and to not follow thoughts by someone else, be it lobbyists, be it a mainstream media. I think one of my uh, one of the philosophers I'm looking up to was Immanuel Kant, who pointed out that it is really important that we start believing in that we make up our own mind and thoughts without being led by someone else. If you think that is important nowadays, I think my list that I'm being put up on, the city of Bern, is a good choice. But not only that, in general, I think that's what combines us all together. It has nothing to do with COVID. It has more to do with our upformed beliefs that it is important to make up your own mind and that you have to have the guts to stand up against this narrative and against the mainstream medium or mainstream narrative. Then I think we are a very, very good choice. Not a good choice, we are the only choice.
Awesome.
Sapere aude. Well, we all are Freunde der Verfassung, I guess. And we are the political wing from the Verfassungsfreunde. The Verfassungsfreunde is an association and stated from the beginning it will never be a political party. But within the Verfassungsfreunde, there were people who said we do have to become active as politicians. Those are we. We from Aufrecht are those associated from the Verfassungsfreunde. So, if you said no last year in June or in November against the COVID law, you now say yes to Aufrecht. We are the voice of the 38% which said no last year. So at March 27, go vote Aufrecht so we can be your voice in the future parliament of Canton Bern.
You want to go?
Sure. Yeah, I would like to echo something that you said, Patrick. This podcast that we've done here, this was really, really informative for me to speak with you about all of this stuff. I've never spoken to anyone who's been in the vote before, so that was very interesting for me. But I would like to really clarify that this episode that we've done here, this was not meant to be a promotional video. This wasn't meant to be us taking a side. This was us having an open conversation and just sharing our thoughts and sharing the information that we have. And so for the viewers here, I do recommend them to look at all of the different options that they have in this next vote. And with an open mind, of course, in order to make an informed decision, you have to inform yourself and to really see what your options are and to pick someone that really represents you. And if that happens to be Aufrecht, then now you know.
Yeah. What I can say is applause, kudos to you three for having the stamina, the energy, the guts to be candidating for political positions. I think it takes a lot out of you to take that responsibility on yourselves. It's definitely probably a kind of like a new phase in your life, a phase you probably will never forget. So well done. And from what I can see myself from the party, I haven't been able to find anything that I disagree with. And up until recently, I've been a staunch SVP voter. And I have to say that watching the SVP during the last 2 years, I've been very disappointed. I expected more from them. A lot more. They did seem to come through a little bit towards the end, sort of the last 6 months or so of 2021. But it was too little too late for me. And I told those closest to me that I couldn't vote for the SVP anymore. Before they were the best of all the bad choices, you could say. But now they were, to me, they were unvotable. And as far as I can tell, unless something nasty happens in Aufrecht Schweiz, I will be changing my vote to Aufrecht Schweiz. So that's my That's my piece. That's my name in the hat for you guys.
That's more than we could ever ask for. Thank you.
Thank you very
No, thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for coming on here. This was a wild ride. And thanks to everyone who was watching here live and watches us on all of our different platforms. Thanks for the support. We really appreciate all the feedback that we've been getting over the last couple of weeks. And as always, if you like what we do and you want to support more of these open conversations, you can follow us on our social media, linked in the description. And don't forget to also give us feedback and share if you think this was good content.
Worth your time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Like,
That's
share,
it.
subscribe, and dislike it if you hated it. We need to.
What do
know.
they say? Hit the like button. Yeah,
Yeah,
hit it,
yeah,
hit it,
yeah.
hit it, hit it. It's all down there. All right, guys. Have a good evening and
Thank you
all the
very much.
best. And sure, we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
having us.
Thank
Thanks
you
very much for the
Dr.
opportunity.
Tschüss.
Thanks, guys. Have a
Schönen
good
Abend.
night.
Good night.
Alle zusammen.
Ciao.
Tschüss.
Adi, adi.